it's on loop, that's why. Alright, I'm making sure YouTube is working. Looks like you're just behind a little bit. Okay, well, you guys are just going to be behind. That's all it's going to be. Okay, so last week hey, Rick H is here. We reviewed one of his demo videos, or his how-to videos. He's working on a Corolla. This week we're going to look at an acting demo reel, performance reel, essentially. It's a short film, but it is submitted by, let me take a look, and I got some better equipment this time, so it's going to be working better. Where are you? Submitted by Jared Leon of JL Productions. Let me pull it up here. And this is what he sent me. He said, oops, don't start now. JCL Productions. Pleasure working with Kevin McCleston and Malcolm Simmons in this reel scene. And it was shot on an A6600, 6600. It says Sony, I believe, and a 2-person crew. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and play for you. It's about 6 minutes long. I got too many mouses in front of me. So, let's watch the scene before we get into the critique of the actual production. So, I want to switch it over to my laptop. Is that my laptop? That is not my laptop. What am I doing? What am I doing? I am not. This is not good. All right, here we go. Here we go. Control. I know. Boomer time, right? All right, here we go. Let's do this.
Came in like a spear. Just speared through the building like a fireball. The plane was slightly on the side, and that's why you think maybe it was in distress. Came in like a missile. Some of the Secret Service now.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. What happened? One minute I was walking down a flight of stairs.
What do you remember?
I was talking to Tom. Me and the guys were on the 14th floor. There were 12 people with us who worked in the building. I remember a loud noise like an explosion that didn't end. It got louder and louder.
Jed, the tower came down.
The tower came. What does that mean?
It means you're lucky to be alive.
Pete, Tom, Sam, Dustin, Ray. The floor, it just disappeared from under us, like we were in a free fall.
It was terrorists. At least that's what the news is reporting.
Terrorists. The planes caused the tower to fall. How is that possible?
They say that the steel beams that were supporting the buildings were so hot they melted and gave way.
Oh, God. What about the guys? The people we were bringing down? All of them? Everyone?
You were the only one we found so far.
Chief, they have to be alive. Tom, Ray, all the guys are tough. A lot tougher than me.
The towers fell straight down. floor on top of floor. It's all melted, mangled steel now. And it's still burning.
Towers. The North Tower fell?
Fell as soon as the South came down.
What about Jason? He was in the North Tower. I remember he was on floor 62, 5th Battalion.
Jed, the 5th never made it down. They're gone.
Did you notify my family?
No, we wanted to wait and see if you wanted to tell them.
You want me to call my mother to tell her that her son is dead? He was my kid brother. I promised my mother I would look after her.
Hello? Yes. Yes, Mrs. Norton, your son is fine. Just a little banged up is all. Sure.
Hi, Ma. Yeah, I'm good. Jason? Mom, Jason was in the North Tower. I was in the South when it... Jason didn't make it out in time, Ma. No, they said there's no chance. I love you too, Mom. I'll see you tomorrow. Why him? It should have been me. It should have been me. Goodbye, Jason. I love you, bro.
All right, that was the little acting reel there from. Let me get out of that screen here. So generally, a very, very good job, Jared. Is it Jared? Jared Leon, yeah. Generally, a very, very good job. And in fact, if this was like a class project, A all the way, right? I don't think there's anything. There's a couple things I will point out. We'll go through it again. We'll go through it again, basically shot by shot, almost. Maybe not shot exactly by shot, but we'll go through it again. Make sure, yeah, my audio's still good, right? But very good. And the thing is, though, I think if you ask 10 filmmakers, you'll get 20 opinions on what you can do with your film. Because so what I'm going to do here is we're going to go through it like piece by piece and kind of dissect a couple things maybe to look at and to review. Let me get my kind of screen set up here so I can see what you guys are saying, some of your comments. All right, let's jump back in. So again, like I said, very good job. Everything I'm going to say now is going to be hypercritical, super hypercritical. Do not take that the wrong spirit. You did a great job. I think the actors should be very proud to have that in their reel. I think everybody should be very happy to be involved with the project. But now it's going to get super hypercritical. Don't think that you failed in any way, because you didn't. You did a great job. It's fantastic. But we're going to get super critical. Put myself in the screen there. So I got Premiere open. All right. So let's jump back to this guy. So first off, got to put a comma between 11 and 2001. I'd pick a different font than Arial. Ariel's just kind of. But yeah, you need that comma. I know grammar. I'm not a grammar guy. All right, so the first thing I want to say is I generally do not like using footage of 9/11 at all for any kind of unless you're doing like a news report. Like to me, using the footage of 9/11 is just bad taste. Because literally that second there, you're seeing essentially hundreds of people die. And maybe because I lived through it. I was 19 when it happened, so I was pretty like I wasn't back in school at the time, but I mean I wasn't even awake because I was asleep during when this actually occurred because I slept in that day because school hadn't started for us. But generally speaking, like I wouldn't actually use the actual impact shot of 9/11. That to me, like I'll be honest, like when I first saw that, it kind of like took me out of the movie. Like I didn't. It felt too emotionally manipulative. However, I mean, so the fire shots you could probably use. I don't think it's so much of an ethical issue there. It's just not a good look to start with a shot of people actually dying. Um, that's just not a for me. I wouldn't go that route. And so I turned down the audio a little bit so you can kind of hear me talk, hear me yabber. All right, I'm gonna maybe make the screen a little bit bigger here. Again, I don't know the falling tower. It might be it's a little bit over the top for me. Okay, so a couple things to note about. It's a little cliche pulling the IV drip. I mean, I don't think. I think if you did that in a hospital, they'd be rushing over. Another thing, and this is I know this is two-person crew and all that, but and it is an acting reel. It's not really part of a larger film. But no hospital after 9/11 would be that barren. So I mean, maybe what you can do if you were trying to do this on a bare minimal is maybe reduce the set as much as you can, make it a tight, confining space, and maybe put a lot of like background noise. Because after 9/11, I mean, it would have been crowded. It would have been busy in that room. It wouldn't have been as empty as it is here. And I think, again, pulling something out of your arm would have triggered that machine, and the doctor would have came like, "What the hell's going on here?"
How are you doing?
I'm fine. What happened? One minute I was walking down.
So a couple of these things here, I think what happens a lot here, I think what you've kind of fallen in the trap of this ping pong table tennis back and forth shots. A lot of times you'll see is you'll cut to the opposite angle when there's really no need to cut to it, or if the interest is not really there. This is kind of happening here. Although we see we have some action there. He's recognizing his movement.
One minute I was.
But there's really nothing. The actor doesn't really give you anything there to justify that shot. In fact, it feels like.
What happened?
Or you can even just tighten that up and just shorten that shot.
I was walking down.
Unless I must have screwed up the audio, but I feel like that shot there isn't quite necessary. Let's see if that works better.
One minute I was walking. What happened?
I'm butchering it.
One minute I was walking down.
I'm butchering that, but the point is that particular reference shot to him, I wouldn't necessarily use it.
One minute I was walking down.
And then we've got this issue. I've noticed this in a couple of your shots. Is this background, the panel here? Just watch out for some. It's the sync is not with the camera, and you can adjust that. You can fix this in post. It's a little bit of a pain. There is a plugin I believe by Digital Anarchy that handles that kind of frame stuttering. But luckily, the actor doesn't cover the screen too often. You can probably just rotoscope it. Again, it's a really, really it's what should I say? It's a little bit of it's a lot of work to fix this thing. I notice you don't have that stuttering screen throughout the. But anyhow, well, just make note of that.
Stairs.
What do you remember?
I was talking to Tom. Me and the guys were on the 14th floor.
See, again, another shot here that I don't think you necessarily need to cut back. I think the sound's just a little too low. Let me pull him up a little bit more here. I just think this shot's...
Talking to Tom. Me and the guys were on the 14th floor. There were 12 people with us
I just don't think that's really necessary.
who worked in the building. I remember a loud noise like an explosion that didn't end. It got louder and louder.
See, that's a reaction shot that because he was actually giving an emotional cue. So that's a reaction shot that actually works.
Jed, the tower came down.
Here's a situation too where maybe you would have just kept it on him this whole entire time. You don't need to see his react because he's not reacting to it at all. Just leave that shot in there.
Jed, the tower came down.
The tower came.
I would have tightened that. So, like, if you would have gone to down. And again, this might be a taste thing, but I would just shave off like a half a second on that. And this might be just my taste coming in.
The tower came down.
The tower came.
It just feels like the pause is too pregnant. I know, and again, that's a choice thing, but I feel like with this kind of framing and this kind of, I feel like if we just took a half a beat off of that, that would just make it flow into the next line quicker, better.
What does that mean?
It means you're lucky to be alive.
See, that's a good cut there. Your reaction. You would leave this because maybe that's why I was so insistent on taking out that first, because we want that. What happened? You kind of build it up, and then you let it sit there and let it hang for a second. And this, if we tighten up that front part, we can make this more impactful.
It means you're lucky to be alive.
We'll let that hang. Okay, let it settle. I think that works. And we can leave that.
Pete.
Um.
Tom.
Yeah. So this shot to me doesn't do
Sam.
anything. All I'm seeing is those ceiling tiles, which bug the hell out of me. I mean, it looks a little weird. I mean, again, I get it. You don't have the crew to build a set, but it just doesn't do a lot. I think with that, you just take that shot out. Now, realize the dialogue's going to get screwed here, but if we just cut to him, stay with him, stay inside his story.
Dustin. Ray?
See, that's a good reaction. Again, I think at this point we've had a long moment of reflection. I think we could probably trim some of this down here.
The floor.
Now that was a really awkward cut. I don't think you want to jump back. Again, I also realize when I'm saying all this stuff, I also know that there are reasons why you may have made these cuts in order to make continuity work, because, you know, this take didn't work out, or this take was better than that take, and in order to make them work together. So know that when I'm making these criticisms, I'm not making with any knowledge of what you have to work with. I'm just making very hypercritical things. No, again, know that you did a great job. We're just getting hypercritical because that's a good practice, a good exercise for all of us to do. And believe me, if I were to shoot this thing, you could be hypercritical on my stuff, and I would probably totally understand and agree. But I think, like I said, I think this cut, it's just awkward going from here, because he's not doing anything really.
It just disappeared.
It should just be from here to here. Just stay on him, stay in his world.
Floor. It just disappeared from under us, like we're in a free fall.
It was terrorists. At least that's what the news is reporting.
So now let's talk a little bit about the writing here. I think so far the writing is pretty good. It stays kind of cliche, tropey drama, which is not bad. People go off about tropes, but then again, you know, you got to have some tropes, because that's how we make shorthand. That's how we create stories. Is by creating the shorthand that we all understand. If you want to go deep into the Jungian analysis, you can do that. But I think here it's like, well, we all know what happened in 9/11. We all know what happened. They say it was terrorists. I feel like a lot of this explanation isn't necessary, and it's kind of confusing because he's rattling off names of a lot of other firemen that he worked with, and it's not like we know them personally, so it's kind of confusing. It kind of loses the point.
Terrorists. The planes caused the tower to fall. How is that possible?
They say that the steel beams that were supporting the buildings were so hot they melted and gave way.
Oh, God. What about the guys? The people we were bringing down? All of them?
So yeah, and I like this reaction from this actor. I think this actor does a good job emoting the kind of...
All of them? Everyone?
You were the only one we found so far.
Chief, they have to be alive. Tom, Ray, all the guys are tough. A lot tougher than me.
That's my favorite shot in the whole thing right there. Let's go watch that again. Love parallax shots.
Chief, they have to be
parallax
alive.
shot.
Tom, Ray, all the guys are tough. A lot tougher than me.
The towers fell.
I like that a lot.
Have to be alive.
Let's watch it again.
Tom, Ray, all the guys are tough. A lot tougher than me.
The towers fell straight down. Floor on top of floor. It's all melted.
Again, I think the same thing here. You might better served by extending this clip forward and not necessarily having his reaction to it, or save his reaction to maybe after he delivers the line.
Melted, mangled steel now.
Like put his shot right there.
It's still burning.
Tower.
And then you can go to the medium shot when he says
It's
towers.
still burning.
Towers. The North Tower fell?
Fell as soon as the South came down.
What about Jason? He was in the North Tower. I remember he was on floor 62, 5th Battalion.
Another good shot. I just love the motion. I love it when your motion captures, your motion matches what's happening with the actors and it's following the actors. That's classic Hollywood. I mean, it's great.
Jed, the 5th never made it down. They're gone.
So the only thing here as far as lighting is concerned, when you're dealing with an actor with dark skin, it is a challenge. Despite what Vox wants you to believe, cameras are not racist. It's just the skin color takes a little more light because it's a darker skin color, so it's going to need a little more light to reflect. So I think maybe a little bit, and I realize what you're trying to do is create a really high contrast look here, but a bounce or something, just give them a little bit more detail in there. And maybe also I'm just looking at this from my screen and I've got lights in my eyes, but it just feels just a tad dark. I would just give him a little bit more to work with.
Did you?
So also one point I wanted to make here. The actor, as far as performance, he does use this one technique of laying back on the bed twice. It does feel a little repetitive. So, I mean, again, I know you're on bed, you don't have a whole lot of options of what you can do. But it just feels like I've seen this before, and it just feels repetitive. So, maybe if you're working with the actors, like, okay, we need to think of some other action because you're just doing that over and over and over again. And actors will do that because, they're in the moment and they're trying to do their thing, and but as a director, you have to sit back. The fun thing about being a director is being able to watch actors and just kind of like mold the actors to get the best out of them. And sometimes, actors they're in the moment. They're like, and then they don't realize that they're being repetitive, So I just think something different. I don't know what it would be though.
Did you?
Again, it's a critique. It's not necessarily, I'm not like
Did
judging.
you notify my family?
No, we wanted to wait and see if you wanted to tell them.
You want me to call my mother to tell her that her son is dead? He was my kid brother. I promised my mother I would look after him.
So as this doesn't work for me at all. Like, I don't know why you would get a phone call in a hospital. That's just like it's just too. Again, I realize it is a acting real demo. I get it. Okay, it's just you're talking about the mom calling the mom, and the mom calls. It's a little too on the nose. This little shot to the phone doesn't really work. Like maybe something like that you could just leave as a wide shot. That's one thing, one thing in my own particular filmmaking. Again, I don't want to force my style on people, but if you notice throughout this whole entire thing, there really isn't a whole lot of wide shots. And I think with this one might be just a medium shot of what the officer walking over. You don't necessarily need to have a tracking shot because it just seems it's a little sloppy. It's not very clean, and it just it doesn't do anything for me.
Hello? Yes. Yes, Mrs. Norton, your son is fine. Just a little banged up is all.
So the plot line is sort of that his brother has died, but she says your son is fine. I'm just like, well, which son are you talking about? So that's a little bit, I don't know about that.
Sure.
See, like if you would have gone with that shot and him walking over the phone, that would have been fine. Let's read let's do the dick move and just read what's on the board here. Dr. Resnick, Dana Gershon, LPN nurse Cheryl Ralph, allergies penicillin. Oh my goodness, he doesn't like penicillin. I mean, I've been in enough hospitals. I mean, I'm not going to fault you on the realism of that. I mean, if I know this is not a real hospital, yada yada. Okay, I get it. I'm not going to nail points on that. And it is what it is.
Hi, Ma.
I like this pose.
I'm good. Jason? Mom, Jason was in the North Tower. I was in the South.
I don't know if you guys can see this on stream, but there's a zoom in here with a
Jason didn't make it out in
with a
time,
warp
Ma.
stabilizer kind of thing, and I think it ruins it. I think you're better off. A traditional thing is to push in and do a close up to try to force emotion. Sometimes it's better to just sit and let emotion just again it's here and there. Sometimes you should push in. It's a tool. It's like every single tool. It's a brush, right? And sometimes you just want to sit there and let a scene happen and let the audience's eye and attention zoom in, rather than actually physically do it with a camera or do it with a digital zoom or something like that. And again, the warp stabilizer kind of creates this little jello effect, and it's just I don't think
Jason was in the North Tower.
It bugs me.
I was in the South when it.
I think it works against you here.
Jason didn't make it out in time, Ma.
Or at least if you're going to use warp stabilizer, take it off of, turn off the, make sure it doesn't try to like 3D perspective it, and just do the XY thing, because what's happening is, like, it's trying to keep his nose from moving, and it's moving the whole image kind of wonkily, like a jello frame.
Ma. No, they said there's no chance. I love you too, Mom. I'll see you tomorrow.
Just for point of reference, he is wearing a wedding ring. That right? That's left hand. Yeah. So kind of wonder where his wife is. I know it's an acting demo.
Why him? It should have been me. It should have been me.
I think if I were writing the script,
Why him?
I would just take out those lines.
It should have been me.
I don't think it. I just don't. I think it doesn't add anything. I think you can do a lot more with just having the actor look at the other actor and just say everything with their eyes. That's the problem with screenwriting. I think a lot of people go into screenwriting. You know, they go into screenwriting obviously. You know, loving like Mamet and loving what's the other dude? I don't know, whatever. I can't remember the other guy's. Not Fincher, but these writers that have terrific scripts and great these beautiful dialogue. But sometimes great movies don't really rely on the dialogue. They rely on just the acting. Remember the whole thing we talked about in my video about montage. The what's the name of that effect? It's called Eisenstein was one of the guys that, but the oh my goodness. Anyhow, it's the thing where you just show an actor staring at a camera, and then you show like a bowl of soup, and then people think, oh, he must be hungry. And you show a sexy girl, and oh, he must be like a pervert, right? So I think if you just had him, you know, just say that first line maybe.
Why him?
Why him?
Why him?
And then maybe like just a little look between the two of them. I think would be more effective. Because this feels too melodramatic.
It should have been me.
You know, if you let that ending kind of sit there with just silence instead of the why me, you know, it's doesn't do much. See, as far as lighting, I think that's for lighting a dark-skinned actor, that's really good.
Goodbye, Jason. I love you, bro.
Yeah, goodbye, Jason. I love you, bro. And that's it. Cool. Thank you, Jared, for letting me rip apart your short. I don't think it. Again, I said it's very well done. Very well done. I just think there's some things you could tighten up about it. And come back to you. So, let's see what you guys have to say. Put my laptop down. All right, so I can see what you guys are saying. All right, comments here. Schlitzpitz, it's the cliches in the dialogue. It should have been me kind of stuff. I know what you're talking about there, Johnny. Yep, facial acting better. Yeah, it's again, tropey. You know, the thing is, we watch so much television. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's like we watch so much television and so much drama that we all know these tropes, right? So, and again, when you do an acting reel, sometimes you do want to just do some of those tropey things because it gives the actors something to claw onto. Another thing I think about acting real too is, I guess maybe in a critique of the whole thing, is it tends to be a little bit too one note. Like I think what actors really would like, again I may be wrong about this, is to be able to play different notes or see an evolution. You know, if it's more of a like you know you're down then angry. You know, what's the 5 stages of grief would be a good example to play out here. At least play out, you know, grief, anger, sadness, etc. There's a couple, you know, moments there. Maybe it doesn't come. Thinking back again, it does. I mean, you do see some of the 5 stages of grief. It doesn't seem like it comes off as strong as I think. Derek says, "Don't." I was saying, don't knock repetitiveness. I'm repetitive in real life. I will knock repetitive because the thing is, movies are not real life. That's like so. When I was in college, I was part of an English writing, college English. Make you take a year of English in college, and I decided I wanted to basically go out and try to document what people sounded like in real life. I wanted to go out and listen. So I went to the mall and I like just eavesdropped for like 4 hours. Just sat there. It was like Christmas time. And I realized, and this actually was pre 9/11 of all things, people, you don't want to write real life. Like I think there's a lot of people that say, a lot of great writers that say, you do not want dialogue that sounds like real life, because real life people stutter like I'm doing right now. That in real life people repeat themselves, they go in circles. It's not good writing to write in real dialogue. It just isn't. It doesn't, it may sound good on paper for a little bit, but it's boring after a while. You want to write elevated real life dialogue. It's needed. So yeah. Oh, Rick H. Tap $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Rick. I have to run. See you later. Yeah, I'll come back and watch more of this. Donnie says, salutes. I'm happy Dr. Seuss Day. Is that what today is? Hope everyone's well this afternoon. Breaking the news of the former 20th Century Studios head Alan Ladd Jr. Oh, did something happen to him? Did he die or something? Laddie? I'm working on a music mock-up of Recre's John Williams audio logo for the Ladd Company. Oh, cool. I didn't know he passed away today, or relatively soon. I'm not sure. I didn't spend much time on Alan Ladd Jr. on my video on 20th Century Fox. I should have spent more, but he was only there for a few years, actually. So, let's see. Oh, the MNCY by says, watching this lunch break. Glad I tuned in. Thank you. Now, yeah, if you guys want me to do a review of your film, if it's under, if you're doing like a feature length or something, send me a scene. Like let's keep it around 5 minutes. That was about a 5-minute movie. So if we want to do another one of these, probably next week, I'm probably going to see that Batman movie. So we'll talk about Batman, but maybe the following week we'll do another review. Derek asks, is realism not always good? It's generally not good at all. Realism is usually not good. Like, we can get into the philosophical part of this, but most of the time realism is the opposite of what you want. Think about and this gets into the discussion a lot, because I get in a lot of this discussion when I talk about 24 frames per second. Because people will say, obviously, that 60 frames a second is more realistic. Well, of course it is, but that's not really what we were into. So generally, realism is not good. Like think of a movie where you had realistic dialogue. They don't really exist. Most dialogue is very It's stylized. It's heavily edited. It's elevated language, but it's not realistic. And part of that too is, what do you need realism for? You live in realism. What's exciting about realism? Nothing. You see it every day. Why would you want to watch that in movies? You want the opposite of realism. You want, an adventure. You want excitement. That's the other thing too. It's like, gamers will tell me, oh, I love games are getting so realistic today. And I'm like, well, you know what the most popular video game is? It's Minecraft. This ain't no realistic game. Like, Minecraft is the opposite of realism. Yet it's unbelievably popular, especially among even the younger kids. They absolutely totally love it. New comment came in. Ganinio says, a friend once described my very deliberately overwrought and melodramatic dialogue as unwieldy and full of malice, which is fair, as he was the one who had to say it out loud. That's true. Now I'm going to be trying to do, I'm in the middle of a lot of crap right now. My tooth started hurting, but before I divulge you with all the stuff that's going on in my life, I did want to make a couple of these kind of acting kind of real shows, and write them out and do a table read and have you guys vote on it and see which one we film it. But I just haven't had time to do it because I got a back molar that had a crown, and now apparently the bone is an abscess back there, and I have to get it yanked out, and I got to get an implant put in, which is not fun. I found mold underneath my kitchen sink, which means I probably need to tear out the whole thing. And at that point, I was like, well, if we're going to tear out the wall there, then you might as well just do a kitchen remodel. And that on that side, I was going to try to do new floors, and I'm like, well, you got to do the kitchen remodel. So it's just been, it's been crazy. So I haven't much time to do anything really, and I feel bad, but Not that we're still talking about movies here. Let's talk about movies for a little bit. Then later on we can get into my life if I totally feel like it. Film it all, Ed. MST3K crew watching a car completely park in a wide shot in the Sinister Urge. All right. Derek Roberts says, I would like to debunk that saying real life is not like the movies. Well, would it be bad if a movie debunks that saying? I don't know. Like, Derek, I don't know what you're trying to prove. I mean, if you want to disagree with me, fine, but I don't think you're going to make good art. Like, yeah, I mean, what makes you think you could debunk that? I'm sorry, you can't. I've thought about much more philosophically than you have. How much dialogue is generally re-recorded in studio? Tooth hurts, whiskey. Oh, that's a good point. We should try that. Yeah, I had a molar removed. Usually the hammer and chisel. No. Oh God, don't make me think about it. Oh my God. How much dialogue is generally recorded in the studio? Is generally a lot of it. I mean, depends obviously on the higher end productions. Like a ton of it is recorded in post. Ton of it is recorded in post. And by the way, so Derek's asking about real life is not like movies. If real life were like movies, then why would you want scripts? Why would you have storylines? Why would you do multiple takes if real life was supposed to be movie? You know, there's a whole movies they're not real life. Stop trying to think that they're real life. Are you not disagreeing? Just wondering. I guess I would put it this way. Well, I don't know how to be flippant, but say, do you have experience with real life? Go sit in the mall and listen to people talk. Like you will get tired of it. Just go sit and listen to random people talk. Like you will not be, after a while you're like, okay, you just start writing it down. Like I think I think everybody that does this, like they actually go out and try to capture real life, will discover that it is boring. There's actually in a Lindsay Ellis video where she kind of took Rent to task. Remember, there's a line in Rent. I never saw the musical. I'm not really a big fan of it. But where one of the characters decides to make a movie. He's like, from now on, I shoot without a script, without editing, without anything. And he's like, well, that means it sucks. Differing views on art are valid. Agreed. But I would just say, the only thing I would say is my viewpoint is that is not art. And you can disagree with me, sure, but it's not art. Sorry. Like, real life, well, let me put it this way. I'm trying to help you guys out. Like, I'm trying to lead you down another road. You can disagree with me and say that, hey, 60 frames a second you should shoot your movie at 60 frames a second. Your movie will be much better at 60 frames a second than 24. And that's a differing opinion than mine, obviously, right? Is it a valid one? If that is your standard, that it's a differing opinion and it is valid, sure. But I am trying to guide you guys down a path that might get you closer to creating good stuff, rather than going down the path of creating basically garbage. Oh, I got the wrong mouse here. John, have you ever listened to He Liked to Feel It by Crash Test Dummies? It might be your jam right now. I never listened to Crash Test Dummies. They're back in the day. When we had those games, those toys actually. But I remember. What do you think about the thought of animation is superior to live action? Well, like, what are you trying to get me to do? What are you trying to get me to do? Like, I love live action. I love animation. I don't think it's superior than live action, though. I think you can do things with animations you can't do with live action. And you can do things with live action. Like, I can get much more deeply emotionally involved with live action than I can with animation. You know, like there's certain like a live action film has a certain way to get into me, it gets into me quicker than just the art form of animation. Boa says, I think there's a subtle difference between realism and realistic. Even stylized elevated dialogue should be realistic. That's what I mean. Like, I don't mean to say that elevated dialogue shouldn't be realistic. Like, you can have people using vernacular, using vulgarisms, using the elements of reality, right? You can use the slang. You can talk the way the kids on the street talk. But it's not realism. It's not how they would exactly talk. Like, you want that real, it's elevated. It's elevated beyond just randomness of real life, like we're doing on this podcast. Like, if you were to write out I mean, you could sit and listen to what I'm saying. Again, maybe this also comes from doing years and years of freaking live video. Like, I used to do these horrible, like, these conferences for green technology. I remember I was working at a real estate. This is back when the real estate market was before the 2008 boom, the Big Short boom, and they hired me to go out and shoot all these like green technology conferences. And people would walk away from these conferences thinking, "Oh my God, that was brilliant. The speaker was brilliant." But I had the job of recording them and then editing them. And when I watched them back, I had to, like, I didn't transcribe them, but I had to, like, really follow them. Like, they're boring, because then when we're speaking live, you know, this is why if I were to take my podcast or this live show, write it out, and then try to perform it, you'd think this guy's an idiot. This is boring. This is terrible. You know, you've got to cut out all the stuff. You got to cut out all the crap. But when we're live, when we're human beings, we accept all the ums and ears and what's his names and all that stuff. Does life imitate art? Should it never totally? Derek, don't fall into the trap of trying to think in terms of cliched phrases. I mean, art imitates life. Like, sure. Yeah. When you start arguing with cliches like that, it's like, just stop it. Stop it. It's just, you're not proving anything, or you're not creating any kind of, you're not lending anything to the argument by just saying, well, art imitates life. Life imitates art. Well, sure it does. Again, we said imitate. We're not saying the point of art is to imitate life. Not necessarily. Again, shades of meaning here. So if you're joining us late, the issue was if an actor repeats the same movement over and over again, you know, in a shot. In the movie we just talked about, he kept laying back on the bed like that, and it felt a little repetitive. And the thing is, though, well, people do repetitive things in real life. But it doesn't work in a movie or play. You want to change it up. But I forget where I'm getting. Realistic as in gritty. Again, I feel like we're also getting into word discussions where it's now, like, when I say elevated language, I don't mean elevated like Shakespeare. I'm not saying like everything should be Shakespeare. I'm saying elevated as in it's pre-thought. It's like, how many times do you watch a movie? How many movies do you have where people say, How many? None. Hardly any. There's very few. Maybe Rain Man says, once in a while. But very few movies say, And if you go around listening to the real life, everybody says, But in movies, no one says, Nothing should be 100% real life or fantasy. Yeah. There I said it again. Yeah, I agree. Nothing should be 100% real life or real fan. Everything is grounded in a human experience, right? So even like Lord of the Rings is grounded in a human experience. It's grounded in it's contextualized by the human psychology, the mass psychology, right? But again, what I'm saying is, do not aim for realism. Aim for art. Like you will hurt yourself and your movie if your explanation for something is, well, that's realistic. No, that people will not respond well to that because people don't watch movies necessarily for realism. They may say they are. They may say, hey, that like I watch The Expanse. Like I love The Expanse because yes, it does have that realistic feel, but it has that. I watch it for the drama of it. But the drama feels like it's grounded in real. It feels like what would be happening if stuff like that happened. Anyhow, I feel like I'm getting stuck in the world's word salad again. All right. I know a YouTuber that says some music guy I watched. I'm not talking about YouTubers. YouTubers. I mean, I've been saying like the last 10 minutes. Anyhow. Chicken eggs, science, technology, philosophy, cognito. Okay, what is real? Yeah. It was like that when I was in print reporter transcribing politicians. It sounds good when you write it out. It's literally saying nothing. Oh man, aren't you just telling the truth there, buddy? It's insane. Yeah, you watch documentaries for realism, just a joke. I know. So documentaries are. That's another thing when you work on documentaries. I guess that's the other. If you work on documentaries, that's when your whole concept of people speak realistically just flies out the window. Like, how many times, like seriously, I've shot so many talking head documentaries where it's just this guy or a girl just talking, and then you could be sitting there and like thinking, well, this is really good, but then you watch it back and you try to edit it together, and it's just like, oh my god, this person's horrible. Like everything's like a half idea, and then they jump to another idea, then it's a half idea, and then it's jump to another idea. That's what's deceptive about long form conversations. I guess that's the dangerous thing about the long form podcast, like a Joe Rogan thing. Is you can sit and listen to them for 3 hours and think like, well, that was really great. But if you were to like write it down and try to transcribe it, it wouldn't make sense. Now, when you have like a, a comedian on, it doesn't matter so much. But if it's like a serious topic, you know. Anyhow. People in the chat haven't suffered through enough jury double O's for the mumblecore with a semi-realistic dialogue to know the logical endpoint of this. Thank you, Gunanoni. Yeah, I know. I was born. Well, I was molded by the dreary 2000s. Yeah. I was molded. So I was born in 82. And makes me 40 this year. So I came up in the 2000s. I started in the late 90s in high school, messing with my video cameras, and then 2000s, right? And yeah, that's the thing. It's frustrating. So it's frustrating being 40 and feeling like you're way out. Like the other day, I got into an annoying argument with somebody about video cameras, and they thought that a third inch video camera chip was extremely small. Like, oh my God, you need so much light to get a third inch chip. Like a third inch chip, you need so much light to make that work. You probably can't even shoot indoors with a third inch chip. 1 over 2.3 inches, something like that. And I got an argument like, third inch chip was considered professional level back in my day, back in the early 2000s. My Sony PD150 was a third inch chip, and that was considered the low light king of the time, and that was like 20 years ago. And you telling me that modern day third inch chips are incapable of low light? Oh, wrong mouse. Derek says, John, you're the safer movie guy I watch compared to the other guy I watch. I don't know who's the other guy you watch. Am I safe? I thought I was on the verge of being canceled half the time. Wait till I do my candy review. Oh, the Me Too crowd will absolutely hate me for that one. Oh my God. In high school, we had to borrow the ginormous video cameras, the shouldered straps with big cameras, and the nasty heaviness. Did you have the ones where you had the separate audio recorder too? Where you had to have the video camera on the guy's shoulder and another dude standing with on his chest, like the tape recorder? That was before my time. I heard stories though about that. Giant 3/4-inch decks. I think I still have my Beta SP deck. It's not in my office in storage, but I literally threw away a big box of Beta SP tapes. Like I just dumped them all. Like I was like, I don't need any of these Beta SP tapes, so I just threw them all away. Yeah, the world's different now. Like, it's also if again, me blabbing about being old here, but you can kind of tell when you're talking to somebody if they only got into filmmaking after the DSLR revolution. It's like if they got into it after the Canon 5D Mark II came out, that is, with the video recording capability. Because like those people will act like that's always been the case. These big chip cameras. Oh, there you go. The recorder was over the shoulder and the other shoulder held the camera. Oh my God. That's rough. I know, and then it's kind of the funny thing is because you have that experience, like me personally, I hate camera rigs. Like everyone who gets into filmmaking, and I did at one point I did too, but like got really into like rigging out their camera and adding, a cage to it, adding all these accessories, and then having this big monstrosity, and inside like a little, the Blackmagic pocket camera, which no longer fits in a pocket. It's not even called properly. But like, or remember the old Blackmagic pocket camera was literally the size of a deck of cards? Like, yeah, that, but a big cage around it. And like, there was one point where I would deck out my cameras with a cage and all that stuff, but the older I get, the less interested I am in that stuff. Really, like I think it's pointless. I mean, there's reasons. If you have a big crew, yes, I get it. But if you're a one-man shooter, get rid of all that crap. Just pare down, and go with just the camera. Go lightweight. Go in there. Oh, Rambora for life. His name is Matt. Colorful language, intimidating, but has great points. I guess I'm not intimidating. I don't try to be intimidating, but I am thick-headed. I'm not intimidating though. I threw out all my VHS collection just a few years ago. Yeah, I threw out a bunch of my VHSs too. I mean, I held a couple of the VHSs. I like a couple ones that like stuff I shot way back in the way that I had on VHS. Like stuff I made, I'll keep on VHS. But like all the other stuff, it's like, I don't want it. Too much stuff. I'm trying to clean up my house. Like I said, I try to do a kitchen remodel. I ordered a new stove. It's coming in tomorrow. Because I haven't had a new stove in a long time. But anyhow, Matt is famous for ranting bad movies. The interesting thing, so Francois Truffaut in the 60s, the whole French New Wave was born out of film criticism, right? Like those guys originally, Francois Truffaut wrote for, I can't think the Notebook. It's called The Notebook, but it's in French. Cahiers du Cinema. Cahiers, there's Notebook of Cinema. All these guys did a lot of film criticism. They did film criticism in that time period in France. Ended up being part of the French New Wave and developing the style of the French New Wave. And you always wonder too, will that happen to the YouTube criticism? The problem, however, is I think the approach that that the approach that those guys did with Calles, they thought very heavily about the film and they wrote in a very deep manner. Whereas nowadays it seems like YouTube criticism of films is very kind of shallow-esque. And I'm not throwing shade at the Matt for Rambor for life because I don't know anything about him. I'm actually talking more about a couple other famous film critics that want to make movies, or film critics that are kind of like, well, I'm going to do film criticism as a way to jump to movies, to making my own stuff. It never does work. Like that's the big irony thing. If you realize, is there's in the history of film, outside of the French New Wave, there aren't a lot of film reviewers that made the leap to filmmakers because the skill sets are completely different. They're completely like Roger Ebert wrote one movie and even he considers it bad. So Rigel says, "New stove. You're wasting that on us, John. I smell a screenplay. Oh, for the new stove. I've never seen the movie The Money Pit, and at this point with my house, I don't think I want to watch it. Oh my God." Thomas says, "Downsizing, get rid of unnecessary plastic objects is a good feeling, especially after watching TV show Hoarders. I can't watch Hoarders because it makes me physically ill. Because my house, in some ways, was like that. It isn't now so much, as I've literally dumped about 6 bins worth of garbage out of my house. Like 6 of them, seriously. Still a lot of work to do. I'm like maybe halfway. I'll be generous and give myself 50% done. But it's still so much to do. So much to do." Derek says, "I saw this earlier. I wanted you to share the state of movies today. I would like to hear your opinion about it." I will, without knowing anything about that, I will just, word of warning, I don't trust anybody who says the state of whatever is today, because usually it's always a nitpicked population. I feel like every time, I think it's the safest thing to do is to be open to the possibility that there's of other things. So go back. There's Wolf Crow did a video about scenes being very. I feel like I'm very like skitsy today, partly because I haven't been able to sleep very well because of my tooth been bothering me. But anyhow, so excuse me if I'm just rambling, and this is what these become. So if you tune in for the review of this critique, we're done with that. So you can log off if you don't want to hear me ramble. But Wolf Crow did this video about how scenes are too dark, right? And every time I seen it posted on Facebook, it just gets buried in just angry comments from professionals. Because Wolf Crow did the mistake of basically cherry picking. Like he takes a show like the Ozarks, he takes a show in movies like Star Wars, I think the Han Solo movie, maybe another one of the other movies. I think it was forget it. But anyhow, he picks like a couple shows that have like generally dark scenes, and then he tries to extrapolate into a statement about the entire Hollywood doesn't realize how to expose right, and people just took him to task on it. Like, don't do that. Like, don't try to. Okay, I'm going to look at Marvel movies and then say, well, the state of cinema it's all shit. When it's like, well, you're just picking like 3 movies out of like 400. And we got to realize we can't talk about movies the last 2 years because the movie industry doesn't really exist from 2020 to 2022. Now I think production's starting to get back really under track. I mean, yeah, they're coming back last year, but it's still kind of rough. excuse me, something like I really like Nightmare Alley. I keep going back to that movie. I really really like that movie. If I could give him an Oscar, you haven't seen none of the other Oscar nominated movies. I just give it to the Nightmare Alley. Give Guillermo del Toro another movie because I feel Guillermo del Toro is like legitimately he's talented and legitimately cares about what he's trying to make, and he's not like Martin Scorsese. And I'm being a jerk about it, even though Martin Scorsese is obviously light years ahead of me in success and all that. But Martin Scorsese will not make a movie unless he gets like a freaking gold toilet. He will not make a movie unless he gets $100 million, and he complains that he can't get $100 million to make his movie that no one will actually come to see. Whereas Del Toro, he says, well, no one's going to see my movie. I'm going to make an art movie, but I'm going to make it for like $50 million. And I might pick up an Oscar on the way. You know, Del Toro's out there trying to actually make good stuff and try to make it under budget and doing just really good work. And Scorsese complains he can't make a movie about Jesuit priests for anything less than, $30 million. Anyhow. Oh, you're talking about nostalgialism? Well, I railed about it the other day, yesterday. Like somebody was I was reading my phone and they were saying like, oh, the new season of Star Trek will introduce the new season of Picard will bring back characters like so and this character from Deep Space Nine. And I thought to myself, like, why? When did Star Trek stop being about exploring new worlds and new civilizations and became revisit old worlds and old civilizations and see old friends? It's like, why can't Star Trek freaking go and make something new? I just, God, I hate that. I have not seen Licorice Pizza. I hesitate to watch his Licorice Pizza for the only reason is that I'm not a big fan of nostalgia movies, and I don't understand the 70s aesthetic, so I don't know if I would get quite the movie, but worth a try, right? Would I be talking about Nostalgia Critic? No, I don't. I don't have any necessary feelings about Nostalgia Critic at all. I'm just if we're talking about me when talking about critics, like not trying to become movie makers. Like Nostalgia Critic, I think knows where he's at and knows what he does. So I'll give Picard a chance. I don't care about. I mean, I like Star Trek. I just don't. I think I'd rather just spend the time rewatching the Next Generation. Oh God. Oh my God. What? I'm looking forward to season 2 of not only Star Trek Picard but Power Rangers Dino Fury. Okay, sure. I mean, I'm not gonna blame you. Hey, enjoy it. Whatever. That's fine. I probably get along with Matt raging against freaking nostalgialism, basically nostalgialism. Like, yeah, I like. I think I talked on the stream the couple shows that I really enjoyed on Apple TV. Ted Lasso was enjoyable, although it did have some lame parts in it. I really enjoyed Foundation, which again, Foundation was not it's not a reboot. They never actually was able to pull off a Foundation. The book is pretty old, but they've never been able to make the book. And the series actually introduced some ideas that were new to the actual to the universe. And I don't think genetics had been quite developed at the time when Asimov wrote the original Foundation. So it was kind of a new take. Again, there are new ideas. Like Foundation was fascinating. For All Mankind was a terrific show. It's a terrific show. A lot of kitchen table drama stuff, but very, very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. Again, I talked about The Expanse being a terrific show. There's all these cool ideas for movies. They talked about. I'm sorry. I'm spazzing out and I'm getting tired. I should probably get lunch. My tooth is hurting me, so I don't know what I'm going to get. But um, Nightmare Alley, even though that's a reboot, it still felt new and fresh. It wasn't. No one looked at Nightmare Alley like, oh, I remember. Do you remember? It had no. It didn't have remember berries. Like I'm sick of Hey, do you remember the original Nightmare Alley? Well, this is the character from this is the wine glass they used in the original Nightmare Alley. Remember? It's like wrong mouse. Yeah, good movies come from hard work. Yep. All right, let's go to here. Although theme tunes and scores are what I love about the current Star Trek shows, I'm still more hyped about the motion pictures 4K director's edition. Still no word on debuts from Paramount Plus yet. Huh? They may bring out the motion picture Star Trek 1. That's cool. Wasn't my favorite movie, but hey, it's an important movie. For nostalgia, I look up watching All Creatures Great and Small, and the new episodes of the new show is calm and relaxing. Pedro says it made me realize I'm not following any series of any kind. Well, welcome Pedro, by the way. How you doing? It's not that I'm not a fan of nostalgia, because I am a fan of. I mean, I get it. It's just, I'm tired of it. It's like I don't, well, like if you did like again, we're talking about way back when I talked about Cowboy Bebop because it started getting really into Cowboy Bebop, the anime, and you have an opportunity with a show, a live action Cowboy Bebop, to not necessarily, maybe take the show into a newer direction. Again, I'm trying to parse it between like, well, if you're going to adapt a property that already exists, you do want to try to stay faithful to something, especially something that people love. So you do want to try to adapt it in a way that the people will get on board, while also bringing something new to the thing. And I think they failed on trying to get people on board with it. Anyhow, I'm getting tired, so unless you guys have something more to chat about, I'll just hang out with you guys for a little bit here. John, I confess I test topics with you first to see if Matt. So I cross realism with off the list. Only joking. It's not, if you haven't watched my high frame rate, I talk about this. Like if you look at the history of Pablo Picasso's art, like when he started as a young teenager, his art was very, very realistic. And as he got more and more famous, his art became more and more stylized and more abstract. Like this is a common occurrence throughout the history of art in the 20th century, is that you run away from realism because, what did photography, think about what did photography do to the world of portraits? Why would you sit and have your portrait painted for hours when you can have a photograph taken? Okay, well, if you can have a photograph taken, then the portrait art you can't just chase realism with it because you already have realism with the camera. The photography creates realism. So you need, so art, visual art, painting, needs to find a different direction in order to find meaning. And I think with the film, like you can just take your camera out to the public and just start shooting and start recording people talking. It's boring after a while. What are your favorite recent movie or TV show or games? My favorite recent movie, Nightmare Alley. My favorite recent TV show, I got to give it to For All Mankind. My favorite recent game, a friend of mine turned me on this damn thing, Vampire Survivors. You ever heard of this thing? It's a $2 game. It's like a $2.99 on Steam. And all it is you just, it's literally, you play with, I play with a PS4 controller because it's way better on a controller with a joystick. You can also use a D-pad, I guess. But all you do is you walk around and then these zombies, it's like a throwback 80s animation, although they didn't have the RAM that would be necessary for this game in the 80s. You walk around and you have these little, and these zombies start coming at you, like slowly at first, one by one they come at you, but then sooner or later they start crowding, and you power up your weapons, and like every so often your whip throws out there. You don't have any other button other than you control the movement of the dude. You can't fire anything. You just control the movement. That's all you do. And your point is you got to survive for 30 or 20 minutes, 30 minutes or 20 minutes. You have to survive 20 minutes, and every minute more and more zombies start coming after you, more and more. And by the end of 20 minutes, it's just like massive waves of zombies just start coming at you. And you're at that point, you're super powered up, so you're like just blowing away these zombies. It's a very basic game, but it's extremely fun. It's satisfying because it's like you're satisfying wasting all these zombies. I would definitely check that game out. It's $2.99, really good. I've seen an episode or two of the Cowboy Bebop. I saw 10 minutes of the first one and I turned it off. It was like, it just felt, there's a certain kind, I don't know, there's something about a movie that, forgive the term, there's no other way I can describe it other than say it felt woke. And forgive that term, it just felt like it was trying too hard to be something, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. So I gave up on it. All right, go help your mom carry things upstairs. Take care, Derek. Thanks for sparring with me. All right. Let's see. Well, it is, 3 o'clock? Is it 3 o'clock? 3:02. How long have I been on? I've been on for an hour. Dang it. I've been on for a while. I guess we did that long review, I guess. That would make sense. All right, any other last minute questions before I take off? I don't know when my next video will be out. I want to do a review of Candy. I think that movie is just nuts. Like I'm blown away by that freaking movie. It is a parody of porn, but it has like major stars in it, so it's not X-rated. And I mean X-rated as in back then, those 1968. It wasn't. I don't think it was rated X in that time. It might have been, but it would have been maybe R-rated. By today's standard, definitely R-rated. Not barely even, maybe even PG-13 rated. Probably for language it would have been R, but. About that tooth, yeah, I went to the dentist. That's the problem. I went to the dentist on on Tuesday, because I called them Monday. I'm like, hey, get me in. They're like, oh, we can get you in. But so I'm going to get extracted next Thursday. That'll be fun. Oh, God. Be bad. Peacemaker. Oh, yeah. Kind of like down on John Cena a little bit because he's such a little China boy. I mean, I'm Taiwanese, so John Cena is a little whipping boy of China there. Bend over, John Cena, you little pussy. Sorry. The vampire game looks really cool. I love those kind of shooters. Not even a shooter, it's just a walkabout, but it's fun. It's like, it's addicting. Alien Death Mob. Yeah, I think probably the same idea. But it's an indie game. It's $3, so like it's a cup of coffee, basically. Cup of coffee, cup of Joe. Ugh, I'm getting tired. I don't want to see that new. There's an HBO series about some sailing ships I saw an ad for. I might check that out. I don't know. Right now, I'm just. Luckily, this week I think, other than just house stuff, I'm not doing a whole lot. I've got some shoots coming up next week. Yeah, you got your tooth extracted in the middle of an implant? Ugh. Tooth stuff is not fun. Sorry. Ugh. Rough. All right. Well, I've been on for an hour and a half. So, you like car games? I'm just clinging on. I want to hang out with you guys before I got to go do some work. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to take off now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Check out all the stuff at Filmmaker IQ. If you want me to review your short film, drop me an email. Go to filmmakeriq.com. Submit a comment on the comment thingy. Contact us. Send me an email, and I will let you know if I pick your spot. And next week we'll probably talk about the Batman, because as you know, I'm a fan of the Batman. Say goodnight, Bruce Wayne. Good night, Bruce Wayne. Oh, you silly Bruce Wayne. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave away your secret identity. All right, guys. Bye-bye, Batman. Batman says bye-bye. All right, this is sad. I've destroyed my career. Bye-bye.